Hello YouTube, welcome to another one of my Duel Links videos, and today I have for you a Vampire Shiranui deck. Shout out to my boy Kato. I was actually watching him participate in a tournament, and he was using a variant of this deck, and it looked super fun, so I decided to give it a try. It's really good. I mean, Shiranui are as strong as there is, and vampires used to be meta as well. And combine them together, I mean, they're both zombies, they work very well. And yeah, let's just go over the deck list. For the Shiranui engine, we have double Squire, so that we can go into Squire Saga. Squire Saga is really good because after you summon it, you can just banish the Squire, draw one, and if that happens to be a retainer or a familiar, or if you already have either of them in the hand, you can just send it to the graveyard. From the graveyard, you can activate the effect to send a vampire spell or monster from your hand or field to the graveyard. You know, to special summon it, pay 500. With retainer, you're gonna search a vampire spell or trap. With familiar, you're going to search a monster. Now, while you're paying the 500 life for each effect, you're also gonna be able to activate your skill, which is Master of Fusion. After you've taken 1000 damage, you can shuffle a card in hand to draw a polymerization from outside the deck. And we're gonna use that poly to go into Nether Soul Dragon, which is really good. 2 zombie monsters. The first time it attacks a monster, the monster is not destroyed. His attack goes to 0, and then you special summon a token with the original attack of that monster. So a lot of times that'll give you lethal. If this doesn't give you lethal, you have your follow-up, you know, Shogun Saga or Sun Saga, Samurai Saga play. If that doesn't give you lethal, you have boss monsters such as pseudo boss monsters such as Vampire Vamp and Vampire Grace, just wreaking havoc in your opponent. Vampire Grace, you can declare a card type and they'll send that type card from their deck to the graveyard. If you have Vampire Kingdom active, you get to destroy a card by sending a vampire monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is really good. On top of that, Vampire Kingdom adds 500 attack to all zombie type monsters, so including your Shiranuis. Vampire Vamp, when normal summon, is basically a relinquished as long as the opponent you're targeting has a higher attack value than Vampire Vamp does, which is really good. Other than that, I mean, the deck is pretty standard. We have one Solitaire, so we can search our tuners. I'm only running one level 2 and one level 3. Originally, I think Kato was running double level 3, but I was going up against a lot of decks with heavy back row, and I decided to throw in 2 Cyclones, because Cyclone is another way that you can just add your polymerization thanks to the Master of Fusion skill. One Vampire's Domain, you pay 500, and then even if this card leaves the field, you get an additional normal summon of a vampire monster, which is really good. Also, if a vampire monster inflicts damage to your opponent, you gain the same amount of life as the battle damage you inflicted, which is really good. Vampire Takeover, special summon a vampire monster. Special summon one dark vampire monster from your graveyard in face-up defense position, and activate a Vampire Kingdom from your deck. But you must control at least one zombie type monster, which is really good. Other than that, you know, you have triple Gasuki for the mills. You also can get a special summon if this hits the grave via the polymerization, or, you know, through a tribute summon. Overall, the deck worked really well. It's very enjoyable to play. So let's go ahead and show y'all some gameplay. What do we got here? Going up against a Blue Eyes player. The only problem this deck has is the lack of defensive options. You know, we're not running defensive traps, we're not running Kuribos, we're not running anything like that. We can easily swarm the board with our vampires, so, you know, they have bodies to destroy. But against super aggressive decks, we are at a disadvantage. Here, for example, all I can do is finish up with a Squire. You know, I could have made some Vampire Familiar plays, but because Vampire Familiar searches monsters and not spells, there was no way for me to get an additional summon or anything like that. Luckily, we're going up against Lightsworn Blue Eyes. So the deck is inherently a little bit slower than the normal 20 card version. All he does is summon a Raiden and mill some cards. Then go for the Blue Eyes in attack position. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna steal that Blue Eyes real quick. Gosuki send Retainer to the graveyard. Retainer send the Takeover to the graveyard to add Vampire's Domain. We activate the domain, pay 500. Now we get an additional Vampire summon, so we can go for the Vampire Vamp. Snag that Blue Eyes, and then my opponent immediately scoop. So that is a 5,500 attack Vampire Vamp when you factor in the Vampire Kingdom. And he wanted none of that. Alright, here we have Alexis. Make sure my microphone is on. And this is a 25 card deck, Master of Rights 2. I guess people are still playing around grass, maybe? Kind of weird to see more than 20 cards on a deck that's not heavy meal. But it could have been running Lightsworn, I didn't really check. This is a zombie versus zombie matchup. So Slayer is gonna destroy my Spectral Sword, hit me for 14. So our skill is active if we want to. We're gonna start with Gosuki, send the Squire, activate Master of Fusion. Send the Kingdom back to the deck. We're gonna activate the Polymerization. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm trying to bait this back row before I go into my Spectral Sword Solitaire play. I just needed to get Solitaire in the grave and, you know, bait the back row. The best way to do that, for me anyway, was by using Nether Soul Dragon. We're gonna banish to special summon Retainer. Retainer is going to activate to add a Vampire Spell or Trap. So we're gonna add the Vampire Kingdom, and all we did was bait out a Treacherous Trap Hole, which was the main goal. You know, we wanted to bait whatever was in the back row. Now we can go into the Shiranui play. Shogun Saga, decrease the attack of the Sonic Bird. On top of that, we're getting the 500 attack boost from the field spell. Too much, and we win the game. Easy peasy, just like that. That was Alexis. Moku as next. I don't remember. Every time I see Mokuba, I never know what they're playing, because Mokuba doesn't really have that many unique skills where you see the character and you immediately think, oh, that's what they're playing. Most of the time they're playing See You Later, but any deck could be playing See You Later. So we're gonna use Squire to get that Spectral Sword in the grave, and turn with a set. Time to win real quick. Gosuki, send Familiar to the graveyard. Activate Domain. So my normal summon is active. Familiar is going to add the Vampire Grace. We're gonna activate Vampire Kingdom. Tribute over the Familiar. Make him send a spell card so we can destroy the monster. We end up destroying a Kidmodo Dragon. So this Blue Eyes is not in my way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to banish my own Squire Saga so we can pop the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Use the Vampire Domain to get a Vampire Retainer on the field. And even with that Retainer, it was lethal. I wanted to put bodies on the board to kind of protect myself a little bit. He has a Kite-Roid, and then normal summons Master with Eyes of Blue into a scoop. It'd be like that sometimes. I don't actually remember what skill he was running, but I'm assuming See You Later. Normally that Mokuba only runs See You Later. Alright, we have Sartorius. So immediately I'm thinking Desperado with the Spice Black Salvo support. So we're gonna go Brosuki, send Retainer to the graveyard, Retainer activate to send the Grace. And this used to be the bread and butter play for vampires. You know, you set up your takeover. Cup of Ace, draw 2. Twin Barrel Dragon, and I'm actually super okay with this because he just spent all 3 of his guaranteed heads on this. Takeover is going to activate special summon the Queen. Alright, now we can go Domain. Activate Domain, pay 500. Squire is going to activate, but he negates, which is unfortunate. And we're just going to end there. Goes for the Black Salvo, goes into Black Rose Dragon for whatever reason. But we take those. Black Rose destroy everything. We draw into Vampire Vamp. He has Misjudged, which is not enough to kill. All I need is a Vampire Monster, or any zombie monster for that matter. Now I can activate Master of Fusion. Go for the Poly. He tries to negate, but he already spent his guaranteed, so he misses. Go for the Nether Soul Dragon. Summon a token with 1800 attack. And then he scooped, even though it wasn't lethal. I don't understand why. This guy made very questionable plays. Black Rose Dragon, questionable. And that scoop, very, very questionable. But you know what? We take this. I get to show off the Nether Soul token. And that's why that replays it. So far you guys have seen Vampire Vamp, Samurai Saga, and the Resident Shogun Saga. I don't know. One of the sagas. And the Nether Soul. So all bosses have been summoned. Except the level 10, but he doesn't count. Alright, we're gonna go Squire into Spectral Sword Shade. Turn 1 Squire Saga. One thing too that I forgot to mention. Normally you don't worry about the Shiranui Squire restriction, which says special summon 1 Spectral Sword monster, hand or deck. Also you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except zombie type monster. Well, all of our monsters are zombies, right? The only one that is not is Nether Soul Dragon. He is a dragon. So if you're activating your Shiranui Squire effect, just make sure you don't try to go into your fusion. I did that early on when I was testing the deck, and I was like, oh yeah, he's not a zombie, he's a dragon that requires 2 zombies. I don't know. Vampire Domain's gonna activate. We're gonna use Familiar. Add a Vampire Grace. And we're gonna go ahead and normal summon Grace. Make him discard a spell. No idea what I was going up against right here, but we do gain some life by attacking with Grace. Master of Rites. Dark Master Zork. Pogchamp. Alright, so Black Salvo is going to Black Rose the entire field, which is fine. We just gain life thanks to the Vampire Domain. So we're not really in any threat of losing right now. Gonna activate Advanced Art Ritual. This is like it's similar to the deck I saw my boy Steven play, but he was using Magician of Chaos. So Gosuki is going to be normal summon. We're gonna special summon Retainer, add a Takeover. Gosuki send Spectral Sword to the grave. Master of Fusion. Time to give y'all Nether Soul Dragon lethal for a second time. Summon the boy, hit him for 300, summon a token 2700, lethal. There you go, and that's how you recover from a Black Rose Dragon. But that was a cool deck that he was using. I need to give it a try. Advanced Ritual with, you send a Dark Machine so that you can then use your Black Salvo. Pretty cool. But yeah, this is the deck. I thought it was super fun. Just another way that you can play Shiranuis. And it was nice to use vampires. They were really strong back in the day. You barely see them play, and I believe they're still a very good deck, especially when paired with another strong engine such as Shiranui, and having that additional boss monster, which is Nether Soul Dragon. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, like, comment, and subscribe if you want. And until next time.